Well, here we are again. I'm Matt McCourt. You're on US Metal TV at usmetal.com. And right now, I've got the story of Wild Dogs Mach 2. And that started in 1998. But let's do a little recap. The 90s kind of killed heavy metal. Because, by the end of the 80s, it was just like it was stupid. And so we needed something new, and that was grunge. It started with Soundgarden and Nirvana. We saw Soundgarden at Music Millennium once in 1989 when I had my warehouse. And I knew metal was done. It just was time for something new. So in the 90s, I really didn't do any. Well, yeah, I guess I did. I'd have bands that played. We changed our name so we get booked, because if you had a metal name, nobody would book anything remotely heavy metal after 1990. So I had a blues band called the East Side Stranglers. And at the same time, and we played the Pine Street Theater. We played every week at the Moosehead. And it had Kip Doran and Scott Spencer on drums and Mike Alberson on bass, and I played guitar and sang. We did some big shows like at the Pine Street, but we mostly played at the Moosehead on 60th and Gleason. A lot of times to an empty house, but Buko always showed up with a video camera. And Deen showed up one time too, because Scott wasn't available. I'll just put it that way. So he played with us. Which led into Deen and I and Kip and John Donnelly having a band called Mrs. Beasley's Nightmare, which is a very grungy name. But we played, Wild Dogs and Dr. Mastermind, and some covers like Alice in Chains. And that went on like every time he would be home, he'd say, "Hey, man, book a gig." We did a reunion, though, during this time at Starry Night, and it was Wild Dogs, and we had Al Seahorn singing some of the Reign of Terror songs, and then I came on, we did the old stuff, and Dane Peterson had got me just drunk, Dane and John Donnelly, and it's not one of my most memorable shows, so let's move on. But I decided I want to have another rockin' band, and so I thought Leslie Carlson, who lived with the Mentors and was married to Chris Jacobson, the Evil Genius guitarist, I figured, she's going to be a hardcore chick, and, her roommate, Janine, and they were this band called the Voodoo Dolls. And so I said, let's get a band together, and we called it the Vultures. And, I thought, wow, me in the middle of two hot chicks is going to be something people want to see. And we had some great gigs. We played at the Starry Night with Metal Church drummer and Kurt Vanderhoof. And they had a band called Hall of Flame. And we played quite a few shows, and there's some videos, so we'll run some of that. And had some great songs that were like, Motorhead-ish and more punk kind of 90s stuff. And I played guitar. And that was kind of fun. But then I started going into comedy really full blast, right? Between 93 and 95. Because I was just miserable enough for comedy, being married, and carried that on over. And I just thought, wow, this is fun. So I was Madison Avenue. And 93, I'd gotten into TV. So I started doing Madison Avenue on television, on cable access. And I had a band with Kip and John Donnelly and Mongo, as you saw in the Lug Nuts. And we were called Madison Avenue and the Bloomstone Brothers. We opened for Exodus once. And I know, taking a while to get here, but we're moving up here. 95, I go to school, and that takes all my time. I'm doing video production, and I worked in the movies after that, and that took all my time. And then it stopped. The film industry priced themselves out of the area. I didn't have a job. I got an offer to work for Johnny Limbo. And so that put me next to Jeff Horton every week for years, a couple of years. And I kept saying, let's do the Wild Dogs. These guys in Germany want us to play, and they'll pay for us. No, I don't want to do that, he'd say. And so they don't want to see the old stuff, and I know they did. And I just got sick of listening to it and said, well, I'm getting these offers. I'm going to put together my own band and do it and play those old songs. And so I was at a Bang & Moon show at the Paris Theater and saw Pete Laufman and Michael Brown, and we put together a band. And we played on a cable access show, just like we did with Kurt James, and it just started from there. We would practice 3-4 times a week, and the focus was on songwriting, like we did with the Wild Dogs, the original. And we came up with 28 songs, which are out on a record called King of the World. I took the band into Recording Associates and recorded 5 songs with Bob Stoutenberg as the engineer, producer, like the same place we did the Wild Dogs records and Evil Genius and Mayhem. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we started playing gigs. I mean, this thing came together fast and furious, and boom, it was just the right thing. 1998. And we got a call from Lowell McGregor. Lowell called me up and said, hey, Great White and Dokken are coming through. Yeah, it's the old guys. He even said that. So you guys want to open for that show? And I said, yeah. And so we opened for Great White and Dokken. That was fun, man. And we were still called Evil Genius. I didn't call it Wild Dogs. This is how Wild Dogs became the name. And there's a poster right over there, but I'm too lazy to get up and walk the 3 feet to get it. And I saw the poster. He said, come down and get some posters. And so I saw these huge posters. Dokken, Great White, and Wild Dogs. I said, Wild Dogs. And they all told me in the Roseland office, the Double T office headquarters, they said, no, Matt, you are the Wild Dogs. And that name has got a name. Evil Genius, nobody knows that. You guys were a bunch of guys in a bunch of wigs. But everyone knows you as the Wild Dogs. And they call me the Wild Dog. Even Craig Cook would call me, you Wild Dog. He still calls me that. Here we are with Great White, opening for Great White and Dokken at the Roseland Theater, 1999. play these gigs. We got some great video. We played with Thor. We played with Armored Saint at the Satirica. No, we didn't play with Armored Saint. I just shot that show. We played all over the place. We practiced every week and wrote songs. And the most intense songwriting stuff I'd ever had since the original Wild Dogs. It was great. And then we got a call to play with Ronnie James Dio at the Roseland. And that was in 2000, about a year later. And so we opened for Dio and got video from that. And just like the first time, we played with Dio in '83, the original Wild Dogs, when Starry Night still was like a church. It had, the thing where people kneeled around the stage and a rail and stuff. And it didn't look like it does today. It looked totally different. It looked like a church. It was the Mission downtown. In fact, Starry Night had the sign "Jesus Saves" on top of the building, this giant white lit sign forever. And so we played with Dio in '83, and we played with Dio again in 2000. And we didn't get a dressing room that time either. At this time, there were 5 dressing rooms downstairs. I figured I'll bring a hasp and a drill and put a lock on the elevator maintenance closet, and we can just shove our stuff in there until we're ready to leave instead of leaving it in my van. But no, Dio said, no, his people did. No, you can't be down here. We have to have all the lowlifes in Portland down here in the dressing room, and you have to go. And so, yeah, that sucked. And I figured that's going to suck, but we're going to have a great video out of this. And so I did. I got 6 cameras shooting us, and that's why we got some great videos of this. So, well, let's take a look. So that's kind of the story in short form here on the Wild Dogs 1998. Wild Dogs Mach 2 is what I call it, because there's a third one coming in 2007 that goes to Germany. But it was a great couple of years. We did some great shows and played to a lot of people. And we really worked our ass off writing songs, and it paid off. And it was the closest thing I'd ever had to a real band like I did with the original guys in Wild Dogs in 1981 to 1984. And so thank you, Pete. Thank you, Michael. And thanks, everybody, for showing up. And we do have a record called King of the World. It's on U.S. Metal Records, and that is available on eBay. And I think there's probably a picture of it with me going like, on the cover. And, well, that was fun. So we played Wild Dogs and Dr. Mastermind songs and our own stuff. And I still figured that I had a shot because I kept thinking, okay, this is going to be my second time around. This is going to be my up and coming. I saw people that were you know, doing it again that were in the 80s had kind of taken a big break. And then, well, we couldn't go to Germany because Pete doesn't have any kind of documentation. He can't get a passport. They were ready to pay for us to come to Germany and play. And we couldn't go because of some paperwork. I finally did later on, to 2007. My bucket list, I filled that one up. And that's coming in the next panel. And you can probably find that in the banner below with the Wild Dogs Mach 3, 2007 to 2018. That one lasted a long time. So for US Metal TV on usmetal.com, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Auf Wiedersehen.